Look at a floating solar farm during a severe storm, and you see a violent collision of water and silicon. But beneath the surface, an intricate web of mechanical engineering is working to hold the array together. Photovoltaic panels themselves have become cheap, highly visible commodities. The true bottleneck to generating power on the water is structural survival. Between 2010 and today, engineers realized they had to conquer these extreme physical challenges to scale the technology. That realization initiated a global race to secure intellectual property. This chart tracks the chronological explosion of global floating solar patents since 2010. To date, 1,408 patent families have been filed, each representing a specific attempt to keep these arrays from sinking, snapping, or blowing away. Understanding the future of this industry requires looking past the panel counts and into the patent claims that define how a structure survives decades of weather. The initial engineering problem is gravity. The structures must keep thousands of heavy, rigid panels floating continuously for 25 years without degrading. In the United States, patent 12483186B2 addressed this by replacing continuous rafts with individual, modular units. It utilizes a pair of triangular floats with an angled upper side, using support bars to elevate the panels safely above the waterline. Early Chinese designs, such as patent CN204425252U, expanded on this concept. They deployed interlocking high-density polyethylene pontoons to build a stable foundation. Because the units interlock, these platforms scale across calm water surfaces, turning individual plastic blocks into a massive continuous floor. While modular pontoons solve the immediate problems of gravity and buoyancy, a calm inland lake is the absolute lowest threshold of environmental threat. Moving arrays into hydroelectric reservoirs introduces a highly volatile environment, defined by deep water and aggressive weather. The threat here is twofold. Seasonal water drawdowns cause the surface level to drop by up to 15 meters, while high winds create a drag coefficient that easily snaps traditional, rigid anchor lines. To manage the depth fluctuations, engineers developed the system outlined in patent CN216762073U. It relies on a sliding pulley mechanism mounted to a vertical column. This allows the entire array to safely rise and fall vertically in sync with the reservoir's changing water level, preventing tension spikes in the mooring cables. To address wind drag and tracking efficiency, the Solaris float patent, CN110741549B, takes a different mechanical approach. By nesting a rotating circular framework inside an anchored outer structure, the inner platform can physically rotate. The outer structure remains entirely stationary, which prevents the anchor lines from tangling as the system tracks the sun. When storm winds hit, localized stress on the plastic float lugs becomes the primary point of failure. Patent US 12391340B2, known as web mooring, was filed to counter this specific vulnerability. This graphic contrasts standard anchoring with web mooring. Instead of pulling from sharp corners, the system uses a parabolic curved mainline connected by varying lengths of sublines. This geometry evenly distributes wind and current loads across the entire perimeter of the array. Surviving an active reservoir requires transitioning from rigid anchoring toward kinetic designs that use sliding joints and parabolic lines to manage extreme loads. The final physical threshold moves the technology entirely out of inland waters and into the violent high-wave environment of the open ocean. Traditional plastic platforms cannot survive here. Under the mechanical stress of high-amplitude ocean waves, they shatter. Patent US 2017-0310-272A1 proposes a different form factor: wave compliance through flexible, laminated photovoltaic modules. Rather than elevating the panels, this system uses flexible mats that lie in direct, intimate contact with the water. The entire array bends and folds with the wave action, and the direct surface contact maximizes thermal cooling for the solar cells. Open ocean winds also create massive uplift forces that can flip standard angled panels. Patent WO 2024-0230-87A1 addresses this with a vertical sail design. By mounting bifacial panels vertically on a mast and connecting the base to a single-point mooring buoy, the entire structure can passively weather vane. It automatically aligns parallel to the downwind and downwave forces. This orientation minimizes the horizontal surface area exposed to the wind, radically reducing uplift and allowing the hardware to survive severe offshore storms. True offshore engineering yields to the ocean's energy rather than attempting to fight it. With the mechanical baselines established, the question shifts from how the technology works to who actually owns it. This map illustrates the global distribution of floating solar intellectual property. China dominates the sheer volume of patent filings, driven by early modular designs. However, patent volume does not equate to a monopoly. Many marine innovations required for high-wave environments are held by European and American firms. Patent analysts look closely at the white space in this landscape, the areas where few patents have been filed. Currently, that space includes grid integration, dynamic power management, and aquaculture ecosystems. These gaps represent the technical frontiers where new entrants can secure protection for subsystems that directly support grid connection and project bankability. The next generation of global energy leaders will be the companies that invent the smartest ways to survive the elements. We know how these structures float, and we know how they survive the storms. But what happens when you give these mechanical systems an AI brain?